Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inner Sanctum YouTube channel. My name's Anthony Alesiani, and today we'll be talking to a very special guest about his World Cup experience just over in Qatar for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. He's the voice of many. You hear him all around Australia at many sporting events, and just recently you heard him doing the match day coverage for the World Cup for Australia. I speak of the one and only Jarrod Walsh. Jarrod, welcome.
And thank you very much for having me. Great, man. It's good to be speaking with you. Apologies, my voice is still recovering, but it's good to catch up with you, mate.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you very much. It's really appreciative to give us your time, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing about your experience because no doubt, I reckon you've ticked a bucket list item.
Yeah, it's still kind of hard to process what kind of happened, especially with the lead up to how I was asked to go over to Qatar as well. But looking back on it, it was pretty strange. Like, the World Cup finals only occurred over the past couple of days, and to look at that stadium on the television and go, I was actually there just a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty it's pretty surreal. So it's one of those things that sometimes have to look at photos and videos and go, oh, that just happened, because I haven't really stopped since being back in Adelaide. So to take time to reflect on it's going to be pretty good to do that with you, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we'll take you back to when you were first asked to go over and do the job. What was that experience like, getting asked to be the voice of Australia over there in Qatar?
Yeah, it was pretty weird. So I do the Socceroos games when we play here in Australia, and I was about to go for a run up in where I live in South Australia. There's a running track called the Snake Pit, and I was literally about to go for a run around it, and then a phone number called my phone that wasn't in like my contacts, and I never normally answer them, but I did. And the caller was a woman by the name of Nicole, and she works for Football Australia, and she said, hey, here's a random question. Do you want to go to the World Cup? I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, well, FIFA have asked that a representative from every nation competing in the FIFA World Cup would be the on-field host for their team. Because the World Cup is in Qatar, they wanted each team to feel like they had a home match experience. So they would play music featuring the home team or both teams competing. They would have someone who represents their fans to talk to their fans.
Yep.
And we want that to be you. Can we put your name forward? I said, absolutely. And they said, great, someone will be in touch. 2 months passed and no one had been in touch. And I'm like, is this happening? And they said, yep, someone will be in touch. And literally 2 weeks before getting on the plane, the organizing committee got in touch and they said, here's your flight details. Here's where you're staying. We'll see you in Qatar. That's literally how it happened. And so I went over with a little bit of information, like not too much, but I thought no matter what, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go over there. And I didn't have much of an idea of what my role would be on a match day, whether I could go to the other matches. I didn't know about Qatar as a country in itself. So there was a little bit of unknown, but the moment where I started to go, this is real, is when other people started saying, this is amazing, you get to do this. So I thought, yeah, it was. It came around pretty quickly in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously everyone knows that you did the Adelaide United games, the Socceroos matches as well. Did you ever think you'd actually get the opportunity to go and be a match day host for the World Cup?
No, but I never thought that I'd get the opportunity to host an Adelaide United match. So
yeah,
that's something that I'll always be grateful that people have seen an ability that I've got to be able to engage the fans. But I feel like it's also mainly because of the relationships that I've built with the people that are part of those organizations. So they know that they can trust me to deliver a message that they want and be authentic in it. So to be able to do that on the other side of the world, like probably one of the moments that stood out was when I saw some Adelaide United supporters in Qatar, and that was like, wow, we are in in Qatar with Adelaide United supporters watching a Socceroos match. Like it was pretty surreal to reflect on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think traveling over, being a part of the Australian atmosphere at Australian games, how did you find the first one, France? Obviously, the result wasn't great, but just the moment itself, being a part of that first match against France in our first group game.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy because we had to be at the venue about 7 hours before kickoff, and I was
Yeah.
working with an MC from France, Pauline, and she was great. So we had a lot of unknown as well, and we worked really well together. And sitting there pitch side, and I guess that excitement of seeing the ceremony for the first time, that giant inflatable World Cup going onto the pitch at Al Janoub Stadium for the first time, the lights going out for the first time, like that was all new and shiny and exciting. Like kickoff was really late, like it was a 10 p.m. kickoff. So we were kind of running on adrenaline and going, wow, we finally reached that moment. And then Craig Goodwin scored, which it couldn't have been even like better scripted. So I was jumping on the sideline, excited. The guy next to me tackled me, like another Australian was there. He was excited. And after that, it kind of went downhill from there because France just flexed their muscle and said, "Hey, all right, we're the reigning champs here. We're not gonna let Australia beat us." So probably that was the most disappointing game that Australia played after that 20 minutes. But everything leading up to that was amazing. Also, like in a little bit of shock. So following on from that match, it was okay, well, we scored at a World Cup, but we need to win, or we need to do something. Like the mantra of the team was we're not there just to make up the numbers. So to be part of that first game was special, albeit disappointing the result.
That Craig Goodwin moment, obviously, from everyone in Australia, was celebrated in the Federation Square. You've got people in Adelaide at home, so everyone was up watching the game. That moment in particular, is it one? I know there's obviously bigger moments that came afterwards, but that first moment at this World Cup, does that stand out in such a way? And how was that moment for you in that?
Yeah,
in that
I love it.
specific time?
I love it as well, and because I've got a really good relationship with Craig. Like I've known Craig for ages, and I know that his football career, no one gave him a chance. I know the challenges that he's been through professionally and personally, and he was a chance of not even making the squad due to injury. So the fact that he got to go over there, the fact that he got to start, and that he scored, it meant so much to him. His partner Caitlin, his son Ezra, and his dad Tony were sitting over my left shoulder. So it was like a really special moment for me to be a part of, because I got to experience that. But that's the same as like Aware Mabil and Riley McGree. Like South Australia is such a tight-knit community, and I've known these boys since they were kids. So I feel a bit like a father figure in a way to them, that I'm just proud of them, and I want to see them succeed, and I want to be there for them when they have challenges. So for Craig to have his moment and I guess show the world why he's the best player in Australia, but to have that moment for him, I'm glad that I got to kind of share that. And funnily enough, like a few days before, Craig gave me the top that he was wearing in the qualifying match to put us into the World Cup. So it was like, I put that on after the game, was wearing it round, because I'm like, he could have given that top to anyone. And I love sports jerseys, and he knows the importance and significance they have to me. So it was really special.
That's fantastic. That's really nice to hear. And Craig's obviously, dominating in the A-League as well with Adelaide United. But you move to Tunisia the next game. Might as well go through the games as we go. But Tunisia, the second game, obviously, probably no expectation for Australia to win a game at the World Cup. But if this was going to be the best opportunity, 1-0. How was that as a whole? Earlier time slot as well? That would have been a bit of a different experience too.
Yeah, earlier time slot, 1 p.m. kickoff. And the other thing that I noticed was the atmosphere. So the France game, the start of the France game, the atmosphere was okay, but then it kind of went pretty quiet because the Aussie fans were down 4-1 and the French fans knew they were going to win. So there was nothing to get overly excited about, just whether Giroud or Mbappe was going to score again. But Tunisia game was full on, like it was intense. There was a small pocket of Australian fans, and all you heard was this whistling from the Tunisian supporters the whole match. So that was there consistently, and thankfully Mitch Duke scored that goal, and then it was a matter of basically just holding them off, because they were a pretty tough opponent. They had a pretty decent game against Denmark in their first game as well with that draw. So we knew that we needed to win this match. It wasn't a 1 point, it was a must-win game. So to hold them off, it was really good. I liked the atmosphere though, because I wanted to go to World Cup matches where we experienced a really big atmosphere. Our fans are loud, but it took me to go to a World Cup to realize how fans can get even louder representing some of the other nations. So that was good. I guess I think I was more relieved than anything after we won that match to go, okay, we've silenced a few critics back home in Australia who were just expecting us not to get a point and come home. There were parts of me thinking I'm just going to come home after the group stage. So to get that win, it meant that destiny was almost in our hands for that final game against Denmark.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll reiterate on that atmosphere. How was the atmosphere leading post that game, like with a win in Qatar, a foreign country, and a whole bunch of Australians celebrating a win, and yourself being a part of that match day experience? How was that for you?
I would compare it, like if I'm going to use an AFL reference, like when your team wins a grand final in the AFL, you put your team's Guernsey on and you walk around, and people that you don't know, if they're wearing merchandise, you get a little bit of a nod. Even like it doesn't have to be a grand final. Your team wins a match, you put it on with pride. So I was walking around Qatar in Doha wearing the Socceroos top and getting nods from people, that had watched the game on TV, or knowing that beating Tunisia, helped out Denmark. Like you almost find like you bond with people over your nation. So that was really nice to just walk around with pride wearing it. I sometimes feel here in Australia, we don't support our country very well when it comes to sport when we're in our country, but it takes us to go overseas to show a little bit of national pride. So that was really nice.
Definitely. And I think leading into Denmark, 1-0, and Matthew Leckie causing an absolute scene with the winning goal in the end, that would have been an even bigger celebration after that as well.
Yeah, and I wasn't ready to come home. That's the thing. So the games were being played at the same time. So France were playing against Tunisia, and we knew that France rested most of their players. So we kind of thought out the match that even a half-strength France would beat Tunisia, but then we heard that Tunisia scored. And we thought, okay, we need to win this game now if we wanted to get through to that round of 16. So when Leckie scored, that was great. But then holding him off, I was nervous when Harry Suter looked like he elbowed one of their strikers in the face. Penalty was called. Offside, thankfully. It's the first time I've ever been grateful for a linesman. And then the elation after that, I cried, man, because it was like just a build-up of emotion where I think it would have been different if we drew and France and Tunisia drew, or if France won and we got through because of another result, but we earned our way into that round of 16, which I think meant so much for the players and for Graham Arnold that no one gave us a chance. Matthew Leckie scoring that goal was an amazing goal, but we've seen Matthew Leckie score those goals ever since he started his career in early Victoria and playing over here in South Australia. So I feel that it was just an outpouring of emotion. However, with a steely resolve that our job's not done. We didn't want to just go, yeah, we've done it. Let's go get beaten 5-0 by Argentina. It was we've earned this spot. Denmark, great side, a couple of Premier League players playing for him, but we held our own, and it was great to get that win.
In that moment, Matthew Leckie scoring a goal, how do you separate being a fan from being a match day host? Is it all culminating into one, showing that emotion, showing that pride and celebrating the goal? Or is it being professional, but also showing a bit of character as well?
One of the most challenging professional moments I've ever had, because we got told pre-match that we are not allowed to celebrate on the pitch side because we were on broadcast. So we were not allowed to show any emotion, have our phones out or anything. So I sat there just like tense and just trying to restrain. It's kind of like with COVID that you weren't allowed to dance, but you're at a place that plays music. So you just had to sit there and move. So I had to contain it all. And at the end of the match, I stood up. It was really challenging. But I feel like I got to say goal for Australia on the microphone. And I feel like that doing that, I was getting out the emotion of all Australians at that point. It wasn't just an excitement. It was we're close here. Let's keep on going. So I felt that moment was captured well. I'd love to scream and shout, but ultimately Denmark could have turned around and scored against us. And then it brings that emotion back. So I kind of had to say a bit measured.
And I've seen you get a lot hype and emotional, mate. It's a different
Yeah.
experience. At the end of the game, when you announced Australia have won, was that the release of that emotion and character?
I think so. I think there were a lot of emotions about it. Like, I was genuinely excited after we beat Tunisia, but then to do what we did against a quality opponent, and these players have been working so hard away from their families, all the staff, everyone, you know, who traveled over there. No one gave the Socceroos a chance to do anything. So this was their moment to go, well, we're here and we're still going. So I felt like I was on that journey with them. And it was like, it's not a defeatist attitude, but no matter what happened from that point, I think we proved a few doubters wrong. With still a lot more to give. The players were exhausted. Like Matt Leckie was absolutely cooked. And for him to score that goal, Riley McGree the same. There are just so many unheralded players that did so well. You know, Harry Suter throughout the whole tournament was just incredible. So yeah, the emotion was pride and a lot of happiness.
Build up would have been the same into Argentina. How was that for you yourself? Like in Qatar, foreign country, leading up to one of the biggest games for our country against Argentina. Yeah. How was that?
I think the best thing about it was seeing that Argentina hadn't been that impressive leading up to that match. So look, knowing they could switch it on whenever, there was a big part of me that was like, well, obviously we're going to struggle against Argentina, because not just because of Leo Messi, but you know, like they've got a lot of world-class players. They've just won the World Cup. So, but you know, we really pushed them. We really pushed them. And if it wasn't for an incredible save in the final couple of seconds, we would have pushed them into extra time. So that's I said at the end of the match on the big screen, I have such pride, but also I feel the disappointment of the players knowing that we had an opportunity to go further. And the biggest thing I think when it comes to sport, when you say you're proud of a team, you don't want it to come across patronizing. You want it to come across like you are genuinely proud, but you empathize with the feelings of disappointment, because they wouldn't walk in and say, really proud, we almost got a draw against Argentina. They go, no, we could have beaten them. Like Garen Quoll had that shot, which was saved, but Aiden Frustic was standing next to him. Like, what if Garen passed it to Frustic, or should he have just gone? Like, there's moments that can define a match. So they're obviously the disappointments there. Mix that with pride, and yeah, it's fitting that they're the world champs now, because there's no better team to be beaten by and knocked out by.
I mean, we lost to the two finalists. I think
yes,
you can't
exactly,
get any better
exactly.
than that.
Yeah.
So basically, we were third.
Yeah.
Was there a moment throughout the whole World Cup? It could be a goal, it could be something that you saw on the street in Qatar. Was there a specific moment for you that stood out and said, "Wow, this is an experience"?
Yeah, so I managed to get a ticket to Portugal, Uruguay, and I somehow it was front row. So I was sitting literally behind the goals. And if you think like football bucket list, I got to see the Socceroos play 4 games and win 2 of them. I got to see them score a goal in every match. I got to watch Cristiano Ronaldo play, and I got to watch Leo Messi play and Mbappe play. So those kind of like ticks are there. But I also got to watch, you know, my country play in a place that I probably wouldn't have visited, like as a holiday destination. So I really embraced getting uncomfortable with my surroundings, with learning other languages, immersing myself amongst the people I was working with. And I guess the moment for that is a French guy I was working with described it as summer camp. we're all staying in a big apartment where I felt like I was traveling with people I'd never met before, and I needed to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's what I come back going, football is such a beautiful game that I don't think as Australians appreciate enough. There's a cross section of us that do, but it's religion for so many people, and it's a combination of music and sport, and you put that together and you've got football, and it's beautiful. And we've got a lot of work to do here in Australia, but to go and experience, say, the Argentinian fans, like it's next level, man. So like I looked around and just tried to take in everything to go, this is part of a World Cup, which no other sport can do it like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think being in a foreign country allows you to experience that a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Did you find, was it hard to adjust being in Qatar? Was it something completely different? Or
no, it wasn't. There was a lot of noise before going from a lot of people in Australia about safety issues and everything like that. It was amazing. I felt extremely safe, extremely comfortable. It was hot during the day, but the sun set at like 4:30. All the stadiums were air conditioned, so you almost had to wear a jacket in the stadium. The public transport system was great. Like everything was set up. It's basically just found a city and plonked a World Cup there. So everything was made for tourists. However, still with that, the respect of the fact that we're in a different country. So it was no, I didn't have one bad experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And the atmosphere as well. We've obviously talked about the Australian fans and being a part of different countries and their atmosphere. Was it unique in a sense, being a part of all these different atmospheres coming together from different countries?
Yeah, and just to hear how they support their team. Like, I love the fact that that you couldn't have alcohol at the venue, because it meant probably there was an element of safety, and also there were no dickheads. So everybody was just there watching the football, being passionate about the football, singing from the first kickoff until the final whistle, seeing the different shirts that people were wearing, the different songs that they were singing. You got excited about, like, a part of me got more excited about the fans than the actual players, to go, we're playing against Argentina, I can't wait to hear their fans, as opposed to we're playing against Argentina, I can't wait to see Messi. So I'm big on the atmosphere and the experience which is created, and the fans do that.
Yeah, definitely. Last couple of questions. I wanted to ask, can you go bigger from here? The FIFA World Cup, you've ticked that off the bucket list. Can you do anything bigger than that?
Well, Adelaide United still have a grand final to make in Sydney, which I would like to get to. But no, man, it's pretty hard to top the FIFA World Cup. I've been lucky enough to work with at a couple of cricket World Cups and stuff. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, mate. And to immerse myself, I've said it before, but I fell in love with football again because of the beauty of the sport. And I encourage everybody to go out and experience what football can offer. And we have some incredible footballers in Australia playing in our league, not just the Australian players. We have some amazing international players that don't get the credit that they deserve, that have been all around the world and have so much to offer. So I got excited coming back to immerse myself once again in our A-leagues, because we have a Women's World Cup coming here next year. And, you know, we've got some of the best players in Australia playing in Australia, which is amazing.
Yeah, I forgot about the Women's World Cup. That's going to be huge as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your voice will be heard across that one. Finally, any voice cracks, mate?
I was close in game one, because I was that nervous and I just wanted to do a good job, and I was working with people that I hadn't worked before. But I wouldn't have cared. I was like, you know what? Come at me, everyone. Here I am. It's yeah, anything was an experience.
I love that. Well, Jarrod, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about your experience with the World Cup. Your voice is clearly heard around the sporting nation of Australia and now the world. And hopefully we can see you again in the future for another World Cup and even go bigger, mate.
Thanks so much for having me, bro. Always good to speak with you.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.